Genesis chapter 45 verse 16. When the report was heard in Pharaoh's house, Joseph's brothers have come, it pleased Pharaoh and his servants. Okay, so we've seen a bit earlier the reason why everyone heard there that Joseph's brothers came was because of the commotion. Okay, remember that he sent all out, and then there was this big crying going on, and they heard this, and this is now then ultimately what Pharaoh heard because of that. He did not hear that the brothers sold him into slavery. What he heard was just that the brothers came. That was a very important thing that as well Moses, writing this years later, is pointing out. Verse 17, and Pharaoh said to Joseph, say to your brothers, do this, load your beasts and go back to the land of Canaan, and take your father and your households and come to me, and I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you shall eat the fat of the land. Okay, so clearly here we see now that Pharaoh is the one telling Joseph. Joseph already said they're going to get the land in the land of Goshen, right? Area there where they can do their work. Because, as I explained in the previous video, Joseph knew that for Egyptians this is a no-go, right? The fact that they had flock. So in the Egyptian culture, they would not be allowed to be too close. They had to be, and that was the place. So Joseph knew this, right? So now in this case, now Pharaoh is saying what Joseph knew Pharaoh is going to say. So again, just that point of it's not as Joseph abused his position to try to get the best for. This is ultimately Pharaoh, and the reason for that is cultural more than anything else. Okay, so yeah, Pharaoh, they're all happy, and they tell them, go, come and bring everything, and we will give you the best of the land, where they will eat in the fat of the land. Verse 19. And you, Joseph, are commanded to say, do this, take wagons from the land of Egypt for your little ones and for your wives, and bring your father and come. Have no concern for your goods, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours. So Pharaoh didn't just stop there with saying, okay, well, you just get the best of the land kind of idea, and that's that. He as well told Joseph that to give them wagons, as we're going to see in the next few verses, right, so that they can bring everything. Not just that they don't need to just walk next to the donkeys who carry everything, but actually getting the wagons. Now we know that the Egyptians had their more wagons, unlike some of the other people, and part of their warfare, right? So yeah, this is now basically as well there for what he's saying. Why he's saying that? So that it was going to be easy, so that people know that they're like basically getting the trucks to bring their stuff down, if you will put it in today's terms. There was no need for them to put it in a car or in a ship or something like that, but they will provide the trucks so they can move everything down, okay, the wagons. Yeah, and verse 20, as I just said, don't have any concerns for the fact, because of how we were stating, so they will get wagons, so they don't need to fear. So if they need to leave something there behind for some other reasons, they don't need to. This traveling or moving company, which Pharaoh is heading in this case, he will make sure that they get what they need. Okay, so if they have left, that's not the end of the world, because they anyhow will get everything here. Verse 21, the sons of Israel did so. And Joseph gave them wagons according to the command of Pharaoh, and gave them provisions for the journey. So they did exactly. Joseph did as Pharaoh told him, and gave them provisions as well for the journey. The other interesting thing, understandably as well, remember, and I need to remind you every time because it's easy to forget this, that this is written while the people are in the desert on their way to the promised land, and the same thing happened there for them. Okay, they had all these provisions. Yes, they had to leave quick, but where did they get all this stuff from? Because of the fear that God put into the hearts of the Egyptians. They gave them all the gold and the silver and everything, so they had so much more, so that when they traveled, it is what Pharaoh did. He gave them, he provided for them. Okay, and in that sense as well, years later on, again, the same thing is God is providing through Pharaoh. While he had to discipline Pharaoh, lots of people had to die. Pharaoh's firstborn had to die, but that's not because of God's error. That was because Pharaoh hardened his heart. So God providing there and God providing here. Again, that connection between the two times. So Pharaoh provided there for the journey to come back, and now in a way Pharaoh provided for them to go back to Canaan, unbeknowingly to Pharaoh and yes, he was forced to do it. Well, it was his sin, ultimately, which played into this. Verse 22. To each and all of them he gave a change of clothes, but to Benjamin he gave 300 shekels of silver and 5 changes of clothes. Okay, so yeah, why the change of clothes? Now we've seen that when Joseph was brought into Pharaoh, he had the change of clothes. And so I think most likely this is now, it's like a change in passport kind of idea. Okay, you move to a different country, you go in live in a different country, you get citizenship in a different country, so now you get a new passport. So this change of clothes, not just because their old clothes is falling apart and they could not, no, they had money to pay for food. Still, there was not a question of Jacob telling, oh, we are running out of money, so please kind of tell the guy there. No, he gave this and that, so money was not a problem, so clothes, their style clothes would not have been a problem, okay? And it's not because now on the way the clothes were destroyed. The clothes like those, it was more higher quality stuff than it's not the low quality stuff that we kind of buy these days. I mean, I understand if you pay a hell of a lot of money, then you can buy quality clothes as well. You know, so that is not the reason why they got the change of clothes. This is more why Joseph got the change of clothes, because he is now accepted as an Egyptian. He had to dress according to. So these guys go and then they come back and then they would need to be dressed like the Egyptians, so as to be accepted ultimately by the Egyptians, so as not to stand out as now they're part of them. Although they're going to be treated differently since they're going to live out there, but because they're Joseph's brothers, they're now going to be treated as if they're part of them. Okay, so this is just, now Benjamin got money. Now, what's the point of giving him money if he's going back there to come back here? All this money, all the silver would weigh something, so to carry it all, it's not like he put it on his account and he had it on his cell phone in his pocket kind of idea, right? It would have weighed something, so he's taking it back there and he's bringing back all of this here. Okay, what is the point in giving him money? No, I think most likely what is happening here is that giving of the money to Benjamin is to do as well with the fact that while they're still there in Egypt, okay, he has money, extra money that he can literally go now and buy stuff there so as to take with. Either extra provisions for himself, better stuff, better food, and as well for his father or things like that. Okay, so this is most likely what is happening here. I don't think this is just a question of, okay, this is money for you, take it all the way back and then take it all the way back, you bring it all here again. I mean, that's kind of stupid. That would have been more logical to just say, okay, Benjamin, when you come here, I will give you the money, so you don't need to carry it there and back. Okay, so I think I would say more logically this is to do with the fact that while they were still there, that he could go to the market and buy some stuff. And he got as well a lot more clothes than them. So yeah, 5 changes of clothes. Now again, this was the same reason. It would be like kind of super. So you already have this one change of clothes. So you go and you come. But so while they need to wear this one change of clothes and take care of it and come back, Benjamin has a lot more, so he can change, he can put on other clothes, because he was more the same brother, same mother, the real brother to Joseph than the others. So in this sense as well, then, like, he got 5 times more food, like he's getting 5 times on all of this as well. It just shows that. And the other brothers seemingly had no problem with this. They were not complaining. At least we don't see them complaining about the fact that Benjamin is getting more than they did. Verse 23. To his father he sent as follows: 10 donkeys loaded with the good things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, bread, and provision for his father on the journey. Okay, so for his father, he took care of his father as well. He sent 10 donkeys, okay, from previous chapters where they're so afraid that Joseph will take their donkeys. Now he's sending extra donkeys to them, laden with food, laden with the best of Egypt. Yes, this was for his father. And female donkeys laden with grain and bread, all the things that they need. So there's no need for them to suffer or to cut down on the food that they're eating. So he can fatten up himself again after years, or after a year, most likely, approximately, of eating this, so as to make sure the food will last longer. Verse 24. Then he sent his brothers away, and as they departed, he said to them, "Do not quarrel on the way." Okay, so now he's sending his brothers. So they got everything, and most likely again they would not have left that specific moment, but the next morning early, when's the best time to travel. So Benjamin had time to go to the market to shop. They had time to shop everything, put it and get everything ready. So the next morning, again, the best time to travel. They're off. Now he's saying here, do not quarrel on the way. So what did Joseph mean by do not quarrel on the way? I've read what other people's opinion on this is, it's like, so do not quarrel. What I think more, like what you kind of would expect, is the fact that now the brothers is going to leave and they're going to start incriminating each other. Who is the more guilty party in selling Joseph? Was it Judah, right, the one who came up with the idea? Was it Simeon and Levi maybe? Who were the real culprits here, fighting amongst themselves? Because as we're going to see later on, they were still not very sure about their forgiveness or Joseph's forgiveness for them. So quarreling, trying to figure out, so who is the guilty party? When he actually already told them, but yes, you were guilty, but God intended it for good. So what is the point of you quarreling then ultimately of who is more guilty in this case? Just thank God for the fact that He used your evil to bring forth good. So instead of fighting it out amongst each other who are more guilty, rather don't waste your time on that and praise God for the fact that God used your evil for ultimately for good. I think that is kind of more, I would say, what Joseph is getting at here. I don't think as well that there's this idea of quarreling. So who will tell our father? Okay, so who's going to, that might be as well a part of it. It's like, who's going to tell our father that actually Joseph is still alive? That it's not an animal who destroyed him or killed him. Okay, well, that could have been part of it as well. No, you're going to tell. No, you're going to tell. No, you're going to tell. Okay, how am I going to do it? Like, we're going to tell our father after all of these years of lying to them that an animal killed him, that we actually knew, we sold him into slavery. So both of those things might be in play. There's a lot of things that could have been in play after what they've done to Joseph that would or could have made them quarrel and try to determine who's going to do what and tell what and who's more guilty and all of these things. So there's lots of sides to the story which could, and Joseph understood that this might lead to all of that. Okay, so therefore he told them, don't quarrel. Yeah, I don't know how they ended up and who ended up telling Jacob, but the fact that they lied to him all these years, that's not such an important thing because Moses is not going to make a big point of that.